In this session we going to learn about income under the head of salaries. Section 15 to Section 17. Before that, if you're watching my video without subscribing to my channel, do subscribe and like the video. It motivates us to upload more. This channel runs on without monetization. We don't earn any income. My only purpose, I opened this channel to share knowledge among students to score good marks. All I need is your support, so subscribe and like my video. Gratuity. Gratuity is a voluntary payment made by an employer in appreciation of services rendered by the employee. Nowadays, gratuity has become a normal payment applicable to all employees. In fact, Payment of Gratuity Act is a statutory recognition of the concept of gratuity. Almost all employers enter into an agreement with employees to pay gratuity. Exemption in respect of gratuity. Any gratuity received by an individual on retirement is eligible for exemption under Section 10 subsection 10, as shown in the slide. First case. In case of government employees, CG/SG, employee of local authority, but not statutory corporation, members of civil or defense services. Gratuity received is fully exempt. Second case. In case of other employees. First scenario. If covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, then least of the following is exempt. 1. Actual amount received. 2. 20 lakh rupees. 3. 15 by 26 multiplied by last drawn salary for each completed year of service or part thereof in excess of 6 months. Viewers, here you should keep in mind that while calculating salary means basic salary and dearness allowance, whether or not forming part of retirement benefit, on due basis. In case of seasonal establishment, 15 days will be replaced with 7 days. Second scenario. If not covered under Payment of Gratuity Act, then least of the following is actual amount received. Half-month salary, based on last 10 months' average salary immediately preceding the month of retirement or death, for each completed year of service, fraction to be ignored. Viewers, here you should keep in mind that while calculating salary means basic salary and dearness allowance, if provided in the terms of employment for retirement benefits, forming part of salary and commission, which is expressed as a fixed percentage of turnover achieved by the employee, it should be on due basis. Half-month salary should be read as 15 divided by 30. Some additional note. Gratuity received during the period of service is always taxable for all employees. Where gratuity is received from 2 or more employers in the same previous year, then aggregate amount of gratuity exempt from tax cannot exceed rupees 20,000,000. Where gratuity is received in any earlier previous year from former employer and again received from another employer in a later previous year, the limit of rupees 20,000,000 will be reduced by the amount of gratuity exempt earlier. It is important to note the difference in definition of salary and the manner of computation of the third limit in case of employees covered under the Payment of Gratuity Act, and those not covered for determining the amount of exempt gratuity. Exemption under Section 10 subsection 10 would be available to an assessee irrespective of the regime under which he pays tax. Pension. Pension may be defined as a periodic payment made especially by government or a company or other employers to the employee in consideration of past service payable after his retirement. Pension is of 2 types. Commuted and uncommuted. 1. Uncommuted pension. Uncommuted pension refers to pension received periodically. It is fully taxable in the hands of both government and non-government employees. 2. Commuted pension. Commuted pension means lump sum amount taken by commuting the whole or part of the pension. Many persons convert their future right to receive pension into a lump sum amount receivable immediately. Exemption in respect of commuted pension. employees of the central, state government, local authorities, statutory corporation, members of civil or defense services. Any commuted pension received is fully exempt from tax. In case of other employees. Case 1. If the employee receives the gratuity also, then exemption equal to 1/3 multiplied by full commutable value of pension. Case 2. If the employee does not receive any gratuity, then exemption equal to 1/2 multiplied by full commutable value of pension. Here full commutable value of pension calculated as commuted amount divided by percentage of commutation. Additional points to be known. 1. In respect of commuted pension is available to an assessee irrespective of the regime, Section 115 BAC, under which he pays tax. 2. Judges of the Supreme Court and High Court will be entitled to the exemption of the commuted portion. Exemption in respect of pension received by recipient of gallantry awards. Any income by way of pension received by an individual is exempt from income tax if such individual was an employee of central or state government and has been awarded Param Veer Chakra or Mahavir Chakra or Veer Chakra or such other gallantry award notified by the central government in this behalf. In case of the death of such individual, any income by way of family pension received by any member of the family of such individual shall also be exempt under this clause. Next. Family, in relation to an individual, means the spouse and children of the individual, and the parents, brothers, and sisters of the individuals or any of them, wholly or mainly dependent on the individual. Exemption under Section 10 subsection 18, would be available to an assessee irrespective of the regime under which he pays tax. Next additional point. Exemption of disability pension granted to disabled personnel of armed forces who have been invalid on account of disability attributable to or aggravated by such service. CBDT circular. The entire disability pension, that is disability element and service element of pension granted to members of naval, military or air forces who have been invalid out of naval, military or air force service on account of bodily disability attributable to or aggravated by such service would be exempt from tax. The CBDT has, vide this circular, clarified that exemption in respect of disability pension would be available to all armed forces personnel, irrespective of rank, who have been invalid out of such service on account of bodily disability attributable to or aggravated by such service. However, such tax exemption will be available only to armed forces personnel who have been invalid out of service on account of bodily disability attributable to or aggravated by such service and not to personnel who have been retired on superannuation or otherwise leave salary. Generally, employees are allowed to take leave during the period of service. Employee may avail such leave, or in case the leave is not availed, then the leave may either lapse or be accumulated for future or allowed to be encashed every year or at the time termination or retirement. The payment received on account of encashment of unavailed leave would form part of salary. However, Section 10 subsection 10AA provides exemption in respect of amount received by way of encashment of unutilized earned leave by an employee at the time of his retirement, whether on superannuation or otherwise. Exemption of amount received by way of encashment of unutilized earned leave on retirement. In case of central or state government employees, employee of local authority, statutory corporation excluded. Fully exempt. In case of other employees, leave salary received at the time of retirement is exempt from tax to the extent of least of the following. 1. Rupees 25,00,000. 2. Leave salary actually received. 3. 10 months multiplied with average salary. 4. Earned leave to the credit of employee multiplied by average salary. Where Average salary will be determined on the basis of the salary drawn during the period of 10 months immediately preceding the date of his retirement, whether on superannuation or otherwise. Earned leave to the credit of the employee is equal to annual leave entitlement, not exceeding 30 days, multiplied by completed years of actual service rendered. Fractions will be ignored, then minus with leave availed during the service. Viewers, please note, if the leave salary received during the period of service, that is during continuity of employment, is fully taxable. Leave encashment on retirement by way of resignation will also be eligible for exemption. Where leave salary is received from 2 or more employers in the same year, then the aggregate amount of leave salary exempt from tax cannot exceed rupees 25,00,000. Where leave salary is received in any earlier year from a former employer and again received from another employer in a later year, the limit of rupees 25,00,000 will be reduced by the amount of leave salary exempt earlier. Lastly, exemption under Section 10 subsection 10A would be available to an assessee irrespective of the regime under which he pays tax. Retrenchment compensation. The retrenchment compensation means the compensation paid under Industrial Disputes Act, or under any act, rule, order, or notification issued under any law. It also includes compensation paid on transfer of employment under Section 25F or closing down of an undertaking under Section 25FF of the Industrial Disputes Act. It may be noted that compensation on account of termination and due to modification in terms and conditions of employment would be taxable as profits in lieu of salary. However, the retrenchment compensation would be exempt under Section 10 subsection 10B, subject to following limits. Amount calculated in accordance with the provisions of Section 25F of the Industrial Disputes Act. That is 15 days average pay multiplied by completed years of service and part thereof in excess of 6 months. Or an amount, not less than Rs. 5,00,000 as may be notified by the central government in this behalf. Whichever is lower.